In this movie, I'm going to talk about Pantone, how it works, and what you need to do to use Pantone in your project. So, first of all, Pantone is a definitive color matching system that helps designers specify colors for printers mostly, or for any other purpose where you need to have an exact color matched. They created these fan books and chip books. You can see here I'm on the Pantone website that have swatches of color in them, and each one has a unique number associated with it. So, for instance, if I say to a printer in California that I want a PMS 186 red, he knows exactly what red I'm talking about based on a Pantone number. So, for your projects, you're going to use Pantone to spec the colors because that's what designers do. Now, these books are very useful in terms of having a guide for color. But as you can see, like these fan books are $155. The big chip books are $370. And so we're not able to like hand those out, and you're most likely not going to have one. Now, if you're ever going to print something, the printer will have a Pantone book, and you should always spec from a real Pantone book. But I'm going to show you a little quick workaround that helps you get through finding your Pantone colors without the chip books and the fan books. So I'm going to go to Adobe Illustrator. Now I've got a set of 5 colors that I might want to use for a project. And these colors are not Pantone specified. They're just sort of random colors. If I open this green, for instance, you can see all the specs here in terms of the HSB, RGB, CMYK, and the hex number are all there in Illustrator. So I need to know what the Pantone number is, and the only way I can do that really is to bring it into Photoshop. So I'm going to I'm going to marquee all these colors, and I'm going to copy them. I'm going to jump over to Photoshop and paste them in. And I'm just going to paste them in as pixels. They don't have to be a smart object. So I say OK, hit return, and they're placed in the document. And I'm just doing this temporarily to find the colors. So next thing is to use the eyedropper tool, Command I on the keyboard, and eyedropper the colors. So I eyedropper this green, and now my foreground color is that green from my Illustrator file. So I'm going to click on this once, and it brings up my color picker. Now in the color picker, you have a button that says Color Libraries. This is where the Pantone colors are. So if I click on that, this drop-down menu comes up. Now this is all the different color guides that are offered within Photoshop, within all the Adobe products. But for the purposes of our project, and mostly when you work in the world of print, you're going to want to use the Pantone Plus Solid Coated. That's a particular system that kind of has the best representation of colors as they're printed. So I go to that and I select that, and automatically my foreground color, it's telling me it's Pantone 377C. So I could make a note of that, 377C, I get it. But if you notice here, it's not exactly 100% accurate. So it's a little different than my exact color that I picked down here. But I say OK. And I'm going to jump over to Illustrator. Now I want that 377C color in Illustrator. So how do I get it? Well, I go to the swatches palette and I click on the flyout menu and I say open swatch library and then color books, and then if you see down here, color Pantone Plus Solid Coated. There it is. So open swatch library, color books, Pantone Plus Solid Coated. When I click on that, it opens a secondary swatch palette that has all the Pantone colors. And I want 366, I think it was. Wait, back to Photoshop. And it was 377. So usually I write it down. So 377, and there it is. And if I click on this, you see it automatically adds it to my document swatches. Now, if you notice, this looks a little different than the other icons because it has a little white frame around it. It's selected, and it has a little dot in the corner. That means it's a spot color which means that for printing purposes, this would be a separate ink other than CMYK. So that's important to know when you finalize your document for printing. But for the purpose of our project, it's good enough. So now with that swatch selected, or with this object selected, I select the swatch and I colorize that. Now you see how it jumped a little darker? I'm going to undo. But if I click on this, that Pantone color is a little darker than my original color, and that may be the case. Pantone has a smaller gamut of colors than RGB would. So if you're in an RGB document, you'll have colors that are not available in Pantone. So all I would do is go back and forth between Photoshop and Illustrator. I'm going to select this color again, click on it, go to color libraries, and I see that that's 361C. So I know the Pantone number. Okay, back to Illustrator. I type in the palette over here, 361, and there it is. I click on it, it adds it to my swatch library. Now if I click this object and click the color, I've changed it. It's a little brighter. This one's a little closer than the other one. And you would just do that with all your colors. So pick this blue, select this, color libraries, 5483. So go back to Illustrator, type in 5483, and I've got it. Click on it, it's added to my swatches. Now I click here and change the color. It's a little duller, but it's very close. So this is the most accurate way to get there without an actual Pantone book. Let's find the rest of the colors. This blue, click on this, color libraries, 2746. So back to Illustrator and 2746. Click on that and I've got it in my swatches. Click here and then colorize it. The gold color, let's see what that is. Color libraries, 7555. So I'll go here, I'll type in 7555. And I've got it. Click once, it's added to the swatches. Click the object and colorize it. Now these colors are all Pantone colors. And what you want to do once you get them set is I'm going to select them all. I'm going to go to the swatch palette, click the flyout menu, and say New Color Group. New Color Group will make a little folder. Here, I'll do it. From the selected artwork. Now you can name it something. I recommend naming it something other than Color Group. Like for instance for your brand or for your project, whatever it is. I'll say OK, and now I have a folder here with all these Pantone numbers, and if you look and I hover over, it tells me that's a Pantone color. So I have them all. Once you've got this in here, you can use that to colorize all kinds of things. So for instance, if I select all this, go to the Colorize Artwork tool and edit, and let's move it around a bit. So I changed it. Now it's different, right? But if I go back to my Colorize Artwork tool, I have this color group in there. I click on it and instantly it goes back to the colors that were there. So that's how you use Pantone with your Adobe products. I hope that's helpful, guys. Enjoy.